Welcome to the Komak Japan Podcast, a series about real-life experiences in real-world Japan. Hosted by Messi Sensei, JD, and yours truly, Andres. Last week we covered the English education system, and today we'll be discussing our first impressions on when we first arrived in Japan and how we established ourselves years ago in the land of the rising sun. Switching gears now is your co-host, JD.
Hello, everyone. We originally thought to talk about this because in order to show kind of like more about who exactly we are and to show kind of the character progression that tends to happen in Japan, I feel like a lot of people who do podcast style videos or just have conversations about Japan online, they tend to leave out the initial struggles that come with living in Japan, or who knows, maybe they just had a lot of help and did a lot of research, and that leads to the topic that's exactly what I did not do. So I know nowadays you can go on YouTube and you can see what other people are doing in Japan. You can see recommendation videos. You can see how to pay your bills or whatever, that kind of stuff. And maybe that stuff was there back in the day as well. Like I actually arrived in Gifu 2000, it was like October 2nd or 1st of 2014 for us. It was an exchange program to learn Japanese. And I personally attended SDS, San Diego State University here in California. And it had some sort of a special intensive Japanese program thing going on with Gifu University in Gifu City, Japan. I basically ended up there. I think in a previous video I mentioned this, but they asked me like, why do you want to go to Japan? And I said, I want to, I actually had the places I had on my sheet to where you want to go, where do you want to study abroad? I wrote what everybody else does, Tokyo and Osaka, because those are the only places I knew. But because of my reason to go to Japan, which was to get as fluent as Japanese as possible in 1 year, my Japanese director ended up suggesting Gifu instead, which was such a fantastic decision. But anyway, I guess I'll go straight into the first impression, which is as soon as I landed it. I don't really remember the airport too much because it was kind of not frustrating, but they put me in a room because I came in the correct way. They sent me the visa to the Japanese embassy in California. So I had to take a drive to the LA embassy because there's no embassy in San Diego. And I had to get further paperwork done so that as soon as I arrived, they would give me the residence card, which is your green card for Japan. So I was in that room most of the time upon arrival. So I didn't, and I was just waiting. And after about, they had other students that had more complicated visas where they were allowed to work in Japan. I was not allowed to work in Japan based on my visa requirements. So I got the visa and they let me in. And I basically, the first real kind of indication that told me, oh, you're in Japan, was when I looked out my hotel room and I could see like Japanese writing on the floor, but it wasn't, as I mentioned previously, I've gone to China and I did, of course, see Chinese characters. This one was an actual like Japanese word where you have a combination of kanji characters from China and then you have like the Japanese pronunciation alphabet, which is hiragana, and I could see them together for the first time in real life. And that's when I realized like, oh, wow, I'm in Japan now. And just the way the hotel was, immediately I could tell, okay, this place is like really organized, how clean everything was. The staff was insanely polite. They were actually trying to speak English with me and they spoke a lot more English than I thought they would. So my initial impressions of Japan were, because the hotel staff, both of the people, like they were, I guess, alternating. I don't know how many people were alternating shifts, but since most of them could speak English, I felt like, oh, this is Japanese people can speak a lot more English than Chinese people. So this is going to go very well. And the next day I had to I can't remember if I had to take a train or not. I think I did end up taking a train to like near Gifu City. And the thing that really told me like, okay, this is going to be really difficult. And yes, so when I went to China, I had no expectation, and I learned Chinese pretty fast. So I was pretty confident in my language abilities. But as soon as I had to have the instructions. I had like an instruction manual with like 5 steps on it, and one of the steps is get a taxi at Gifu Station and take it to Gifu University. As soon as I got into the taxi with the taxi driver and he asked me where you want to go, is when I started to realize, oh wow, I actually don't know how to say anything in Japanese, despite having taken classes for in university for like off and on for like I guess one or two-ish years. I couldn't answer a single question. He was literally just asking me, "What do you like to do? Um, what do you like to? Where do you?" Like how many brothers and sisters do you have? How old are you? Why did you come here? I think why did you come here was definitely they trying to think of a response to that. With my limited Japanese was that was the first time I really realized, okay, I have a huge problem where I studied a bunch of grammar and a bunch of vocabulary, and it's not helping me whatsoever. Yeah, I think this is gonna probably end up going on like really long if I keep talking in this format. So I'll go ahead and pass the ball to, for now. I have more things to say, but I'll go ahead and pass the ball to Messi for now.
I think before you met Messi, if you don't mind me just interjecting a bit, I think it's very important to mention how if starting off in Gifu as opposed to Osaka or Tokyo, you're essentially have set up like hard mode for yourself because a place like Tokyo, from my experiences, feels more accommodating for non-Japanese speaking foreigners than Gifu is, where there is pretty much like zero English fluency on average among the Japanese citizens there, as well as just like zero English options on practically anywhere you go, whether it's like shopping malls, restaurants, post office, city hall, just nothing out there for an English speaker to read or write or speak or say. So it's like by trying to establish yourself in Gifu, you really are just throwing yourself out into like the hardest level possible because there is just zero accommodations out there compared to say Tokyo, which is a lot more foreigner friendly, I feel.
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and add to that. Yeah, I didn't even really realize what I was getting I did what you just said.
I'm just saying, like in hindsight, like having understood the differences, the nuances between a big city like Tokyo, a big international city like Tokyo, compared to the countryside of Gifu City. It's like I can totally see. Like it's important. I feel like it was important to note that specific difference for our listeners.
Yeah, people did tell me before I went to Gifu, which I didn't know what they were talking about. They mentioned everything you said, that it's a hard mode. That, oh my God, you're going to Gifu and you don't have any contact there. Oh, we have to get you in contact with, because there were previous exchange students from Gifu University that would go to SDSU. So they tried to get me in contact with these people for this reason, which they did. But I didn't really even think I could rely on them. I just went. I didn't think of any of this because I had already done China, and China was. I went in there with nothing, so I thought that I can do well with Japan. I've been studying the language, so I went in there and I didn't even consider like the differences between Gifu and Tokyo and yet. So I actually didn't think about Tokyo again until I actually went there for the holidays. That like, well, yeah, I arrived in Gifu in October, so I did end up eventually making it to Tokyo in around December. But yeah, what that this is correct. Like, it definitely is the well. Eventually, it didn't end up mattering after like learning more Japanese. It tends to even out the playing field for all the cities. But yeah, that is very true. It is the you are going in on hard mode. So I'll pass the ball to Messi now to see how he came in.
Yeah, so for me, uh, I grew up actually watching some of the Japanese dramas, and I always was fascinated with Asian culture because I used to also do taekwondo and Korean sport, and I really like martial arts. And I mean, I like Bruce Lee. Who doesn't like him, right? And I really like martial
Absolutely.
arts. Yeah, karate, martial arts, jiu-jitsu, and sports like that. And also, I really liked Japanese dramas because I was like always fascinated by their culture, the manner, and how kind they are in the drama actually. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just drama. That's not true. When I go there someday, I will see it in my own eyes, right? So that was not actually a dream of mine. Like most of the people who have dreamed to go to Japan and probably they are like geeks or what they call otakus or geeks that they really want to go to Japan to see some anime character. They think Japan is a sci-fi utopia. Utopia. uh, am I saying it correctly? It's
Utopia.
utopia. Yeah, it's Japan is a sci-fi utopia, or it's full of stories like anime, and it's like crazy tech, high tech country with crazy stuff, right? I actually wasn't thinking about that at all. So the reason I went to Japan was to pursue my career or study, and I always was fascinated with the robotic in Japan. So I really wanted to someday, study in Japan or work in a Japanese company. I really like robots, right? And I really like martial arts. So that was one of the reasons that I actually sorry, that's not even one of the reasons. I thought maybe someday I would visit Japan. I didn't think I'm gonna go live there or study there, right? So for me, it was unlike most of the people who have this dream to go to Japan. I didn't have that dream. It wasn't a dream of mine. But I always respected Japan and Japanese people and Japanese culture, even before thinking about going there, right? So for me, then the when I decided to go to Japan, and it was for studying. And when I got to Japan, I experienced very interesting stuff. First thing was that, as you guys said, there was no Japanese instructions in the train stations, and I was totally lost when I got to the airport. And interesting thing that people start helping me, even though I didn't understand Japanese. They couldn't speak proper English. I couldn't speak in Japanese, right? So they start helping me, and I remember this actually. This is very interesting because when I was looking for a train, the platform, I didn't know which platform I have to take. It was Osaka station. It's actually a bigger station, I think. Uh, so the lady at the counter, she came out and took me to the train, okay, and placed me in the train and said, "Sit here. This one goes to the place you want to go," which was Gifu, right? So that was very interesting, and I actually made a mistake. I got off at the Nishigifu. I think it's Gifu, but it's before I think or after Gifu. Nishigifu. I got off the train.
Were you taking JR or Meitetsu?
I don't remember. To be honest, I don't remember now. It was
I definitely remember. What was that?
It might be Meitetsu.
Meitetsu,
Okay, because I
maybe.
definitely remember Shingifu something.
Shingifu, Nishigifu. I forgot. Was it Shingifu? Yeah,
There,
I have to fix that.
there's also Nishigifu, and I think you took Meitetsu.
So okay, yeah. So I took the wrong train and went to the wrong station.
Mhm.
Then again, I was in trouble. I haven't even stepped my foot in the city I was supposed to go, and I was already in trouble, a lot of trouble. But the guy at the station, he drew me a map and write the stations one by one, and he told me 1, 2, 3, you get off here, okay,
Mhm.
and look at this character kanji, right? This is Gifu, right? And that was my first experience like dealing with the problems in Japan and how easily I got help. And I was stressed like the rest of people who go first time to Japan. So yeah, for me that was a very interesting story that I can say. When I got to Japan, that was as I expected. Japanese were very warm. Unlike so many people say Japanese are strict and cold, but I felt like Japanese are actually very warm and helpful. And yeah, they help me a lot. So this is just the beginning. We can continue on top of this and discuss more. I pass the ball to Andres, I guess.
Sure. Okay. So, um, like Messi, I was someone who was always fascinated by Japanese culture. In my case, I was always, since I was a young kid, fascinated by the world of tokusatsu media, stuff like Godzilla movies, Mothra, Gamera, Ultraman. By extension, Power Rangers and Super Sentai. A lot of the men in rubber suits and spandex and model sets. I've always loved that type of entertainment. And so over the years, as I grew up and learning more about this subject matter, I did my best to research as much as I could back in the day with what few resources were available at the time. And at the time, I wanted to become a film journalist. And so I want to study further about entertainment and filmmaking and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until I graduated where I eventually got a call from Jonathan, or where I got the call from JD. And of course, I went over this in the last episode about how I ended up in Japan, where I was offered a job. And at that point, JD and I essentially formulated a plan that is kind of like off the beaten path where you can't really pull off these sort of days. But given that it's all said and done, I can pretty much like go step by step with how this went about, where rather than trying to be sponsored and getting my work visa ahead of time, the idea was to come to Japan under a tourist visa and then from there get hired. And well, by the time I was already set on going to Japan, the job was pretty much guaranteed for me. That's a big thing. And so the idea was I was going to go there via a tourist visa and then from there have it changed into a proper work visa. And so by the time I went there, I pretty much went through the process that any tourist, American tourist, would go through, where you just show your American passport. As long as it's an American passport, they automatically accept it. They give you your 3-month tourist visa, and they let you go on your way. And once I was there, I remember I was in constant communication with JD, and I was like, okay, I'm here at the airport. I specifically arrived at the Nagoya airport, and I forgot what was Chubu Centrair Airport. And because it was the closest to Gifu, and he was giving me instructions on, okay, you're going to take the Meitetsu line. Don't worry about the stop. Gifu, luckily, is the very last stop for you, so there's no confusion there. I was like, cool, all right. And I remember I was scared because, like, I'm in this foreign country. I'm about to take this train. I've never ridden a train before in my life, outside of like the San Diego trolleys. And here I was about to head off into God knows where to stop at a city I've never been at before. I have no Wi-Fi, no means of contacting my friend, my only contact here. So a lot of it was just, taking that leap of faith and hoping for the best. So but luckily, I was able to get my ticket to the very last stop of the Meitetsu line. And that's a great thing about being in Gifu City, is that when it comes to this particular Meitetsu line, Gifu City is the very first stop, and the airport is the very opposite end first stop. The first stop and the last stop are the two locations that I needed specifically. So, and it wasn't until like the train left the airport that it really sunk in that I'm in Japan. That, like, I, to quote Dorothy, I wasn't in Kansas anymore. And going out the train, going out there and looking through the window and just seeing the beautiful landscape, and especially the houses with the traditional Japanese roof tiles, the rivers, the mountains, the hills, the bridges. It really sunk in that, like, not only was I in this new world, but also that I thought to myself, wow, it looks just like it does in the movies. It's like it's almost like a lot of the central Japan area feels very like stuck in time, where it has a very like vintage, like Showa era look to it all, a very like 60s Japan, 60s, 70s Japan look. And I was like, wow, it really does look like this. Because this isn't Tokyo. This isn't like big sprawling skyscrapers and whatnot. A lot of this just feels very old school Japan. And as I was eventually, taking the train and just taking it all the sights in, I remember it eventually arrived at Gifu Station, and I got off, and I remember I met Jonathan at the station as I was taking the escalators down, and above me was the big old sign in English and Japanese that said, "Welcome to Gifu City," with the little utan, Japanese cormorant bird mascot there. And I'll always remember that sign with the utan mascot. That's where I met up with JD, and luckily, he was already there waiting for me. And from there, I was pretty much like holding his hand, like he was holding my hand the entire time that I was establishing myself in Japan. He showed me around Gifu City. He took me to the first place we ever ate, which was Koko Ichiban. I stayed at his place for, I think, the first week or two, and eventually the plan was to eventually find an apartment for myself, which I eventually found through another coworker, and also getting my paperwork changed so I can get that working visa, which took some trial and error, because I think it was you and I, JD, that was going to the immigration office rather than our boss. I think our boss was busy at the time. So again,
our boss didn't want to get involved with the process, and the reason why it took so many, because she kept saying strongly, "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like, can you do it for me?"
Right, because she was new to this process, I believe.
Which is ridiculous. Like, if you really think about what we just did right there, like me taking you to the immigration office and doing that on her behalf, that is insanity. That would never. And I think the immigration officers definitely had a problem with that.
Oh yeah. They were like, "What are you guys doing here?"
Yeah. Why are you trying to sponsor him and you don't even own a company? What are you doing?
But a lot of it was trial and error, because like we would go to the immigration office. They were saying, "Oh, you're missing this one document." We go back to our boss. She would give us the document. We go to back to the immigration office. They're saying, "Now you're missing this document." I'm like, "I wish you would have told us the first time." So then we go back to our boss, get the paperwork, and then the third time's the charm, I believe, and that's when everything was all checked and accounted for, and I eventually got my visa, I believe.
So what I ended up learning, so even at this time, you know how you explained earlier that you're supposed to get sponsored while you're ahead of your time, while before you even take an airplane to Japan. So at the time, I didn't understand the Japanese that they were using, but later on, I found out exactly what they were saying, because it's this weird thing where I could sort of remember what they were saying, and then it came up again at a later time, because I actually had to help multiple people go to the immigration office in this manner. So I end up finding out that you needed to apply for permission to get a visa, because you came in the way you did.
Yeah.
So that's what he was trying to explain to me, and my Japanese level wasn't high enough to understand that. So I misinterpreted it as, "Oh, I need like another document or something." But no, it was, you need to be granted permission by the Japanese government to even like work here, because so but usually like you said on this, now it's different, so it should definitely be much stricter. It should be. So I wouldn't recommend that anybody do this anymore.
No, we just happened to have pulled off this harebrained scheme, just taking advantage of the fact that I was an American and that I can already come in with easily come in with a tourist visa, I believe.
Yes, and it's just, well, we just have a new political climate nowadays, right? So it's likely that this is gonna fly. So most people should try to find a try to find like a bigger eikaiwa/ALT company. They will sponsor you. They will do everything for you. They actually get your apartment for you. Like the way that the reason why I even knew like a group, not I don't want like the reason why I asked on this to come is because I knew like I know we can help him do everything here. So he need to join this big ALT company. He doesn't need to go and join Nova and be sponsored. Also, under those companies, he would have really he ends up like kind of belonging to them. Those kinds of companies often bully you if you don't, because you're going to make them look bad. They're the ones that are kind of like responsible for you.
Right. Whereas we have a lot more freedom under the Eikaiwa that we worked under.
Yeah. Yes. So I honestly, even at that time, which now that I think about everything we're talking about, this is insane. We made things happen. We really made some stuff happen, but we were able to kind of on this never had to go through that like corporate Eikaiwa /ALT. It's kind of the stakes are a lot higher. The freedom is the best word here, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. And, eventually once I had everything settled, the thing was, so the arrangement, again, very off the beaten path, very, unorthodox. My first apartment, it was actually like an agreement between me and a former coworker of ours from that Eikaiwa. He was planning on visiting his family for several months over in Australia. So he's, for whatever reason, failed to submit the paperwork in time to bring his cat along with him. So he asked me, hey, can you watch my cat and watch over my stuff at my apartment for me while I'm away in Australia? And I said, sure, of course. And so I basically, we had an agreement with his landlord. His landlord was aware that I was going to be the one paying his rent for the next several months. And so I believe for the first, I want to say it was 3 or 4 months in Japan. No, I want maybe 3 to 5 months in Japan. I was staying at his apartment, living there, paying rent and all that stuff. And it wasn't until when he came back that I looked for an apartment myself. And by then, I forgot if it was you and me or if it was me and our boss that ended up talking to a real estate company that would eventually get me that apartment that I ended up staying at for the rest of my time in Japan.
It was you and me. But
Okay.
our boss did have to get involved because the realting off like the realtors. When they speak, we're in Gifu, so there's not. I mean,
No one speaks English.
no one speaks English, but actually, so we were kind of lucky to be in a university area because normally this would be a lot harder. But the realtor was really good at helping any exchange students or anyone who wasn't Japanese, and she like specialized. So, and then all the people who owned the property, they heavily relied on her as well. They really cared about her word. She was a big play. She was actually a big player. Kind of. In Gifu, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I believe we got the very last spot available for someone like me.
Yeah, and she would pick up the phone and call the owners of these properties, and she would say, oh, she would vouch for this person's if he's a good guy, or this person's a student, so everything's gonna be okay. And the people who own these properties would almost always universally say, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine, that sounds good. And it just in general, Gifu just didn't have like a really big stigma towards foreigners because there just weren't enough of them. So I feel like that's like a whole nother topic, but I feel like it was a lot easier to get along with it, in my opinion. I still think to this day to get along with people from Japan in this area, whereas in Tokyo you can get denied like 8 times in a row when you're Japanese, when you're applying for apartments. That sort of thing I did not experience in Gifu, and I knew so many people who were not Japanese and were able to just get housing left and right in Gifu because people were just a lot more willing to trust you. But yeah, I think we should. I think on this, our stories could go on for a while without like stopping.
Oh, sure. We've essentially established like a lot of it was I was heavily reliant on you or my boss during this time just because of that language barrier.
Yeah, which is I'll take the ball here, which is very interesting. I want to heavily contrast with Andres. Even while Andres was talking this entire time, I was thinking it's so funny that Andres is actually saying that I took a hold of his hand and I was guiding him. When I first arrived in Gifu, I was actually I could not do any of that for him. Which is when going back to what I was first talking about, and I'll try to keep this slightly brief so that we can pass the ball back to Messi like very soon. But when I first arrived, and eventually I was talking about the taxi driver, and that I couldn't, and I realized I didn't know any Japanese. He tried his best. He was a really good taxi driver. He would still keep talking even though I didn't understand him, which it gave me a very good impression of Japanese people. It made me feel like they were more like when I was in China, when Chinese people tried so hard and were so kind when speaking to me and trying to communicate with me. It was just that he knew less English than those people I would encounter, and then I knew more Chinese, because Chinese is just, I feel like, inherently easier to learn for a native English speaker. But anyway, fast forward, we get to the Gifu University, which is my destination. And I actually don't know where to go. I was supposed to, there is actually a place called the Kokusai Koryu Kaikan, which is where it's the exchange student like housing, the dorms for the exchange students. And I didn't know how to get there, so I was actually walking all over the place. Like I actually ended up at I think it was the tutoring center at Gifu University, and they were familiar with exchange students because I know exchange students would go there to learn Japanese. So I don't know how I ended up there, but I got there, and one of the people who worked at the dorms, at the exchange dorms, we'd call it the kaikan, right? The kaikan. So someone who worked at the kaikan, she's like, it's over there. She was like telling me, it's right over there. It's right over there. And then I just looked at her and I'm like, man, I don't even know how to say, because she actually didn't really speak English, like this lady. But she could understand my English, which is just dealing with so many exchange students. So she knew that I didn't, I was hopeless. So she basically just said, follow me. And she like walked me all the way. And keep in mind that from this location, it's actually kind of far. It is like a 15-minute walk. So we walked and I just followed her, and she was trying to talk to me, but it was she immediately realized like, oh, he doesn't know anything. Because another thing you have to like you should know about the kaikan is that many of the students are actually not fluent in Japanese, but they're conversationally fluent before they even step foot in Japan, because that's what their universities require. Oftentimes they'd be from Thailand or from China or from Korea. Or from Vietnam. I think those are like the top. And then there was other variations of Asia. There was like Bangladesh. There was a lot of Bangladesh. There was some Sri Lanka. Yeah, actually, there was a lot of Sri Lanka. Not as many from Indians. When I first arrived there, they ended up coming a bit later. But yeah, so so they're kind of used to, the point of me saying that is they're kind of used to having the foreigners speak Japanese, and I didn't speak any Japanese, so it actually surprised her. Usually Japanese people would be surprised that you know Japanese, but for her, it surprised her that I didn't know Japanese. So she takes me to the kaikan, the exchange student dorms. And and I find like they help me get to my room. They help. And when I'm in my room, I'm like, oh, like, what do I do now? Like I ended up bringing my 3DS at the time, and my PS5 4, sorry, PS5 wasn't out yet. It's 2014. And I basically didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything. And I there was like a lounge, and I actually found the English speakers at the lounge. We had people from all over the world. And then some of the, I guess the people who managed the lounge, they would pick like 4 people. One of them was, all of them had to be good at Japanese and English. Some of them weren't very good at English, but most of them were. And they kind of were talking to me, asking, where are you from? And I kind of hung out with them a little bit, but like I didn't really feel like like I'd made any friends yet, or I didn't even know where to eat. And that's where it hit me. Like, where do I eat? I'm getting hungry. And actually didn't, I had no idea. And I actually went without food I think for that night. I think I might have. I don't know where I got something to eat, but yeah, I didn't. We had like a convenience store on campus. It was really close to these the dorms, the exchange dorms, and it was called Mini Stop, which is this is like I think a lot of people know it if you watch Japan-based videos where it's like convenience store chain. I didn't know what that was because I went to China and was so successful with my experience there, I didn't bother looking for any videos on Japan. I didn't bother looking for any advice, nothing. I just said, hey, I'm going to do what I did with China. I'm going to just go in there on my own oh, hey, I'm fluent in Japanese after all, which of course you guys know that I wasn't, which I just explained. It was just, I was under that illusion because, like school equals, oh, you went to school, you're obviously, you're going to, through osmosis, you're going to absorb the language, which is like ridiculous. But anyway, like at the beginning, I did feel like I was being a burden to others. I felt I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was afraid of going out of my dorm. Um, I just felt like just scared in my dorm and like I as you can see I wasn't even eating because I didn't know how to eat, which is ridiculous. It's embarrassing, but that did happen to me. Eventually I had to ask somebody. I went to the lounge to wait for someone, and eventually, I mean, they called them kaikon tutors, which were the people who would take care of us, the ones that I just mentioned that could speak both Japanese and English to some degree. And they asked me like, what's going on? What are you doing? I'm like, actually, I'm pretty hungry. Like, and they were just looking at me like, okay, then go eat. And I'm like, well, how do I go? How do I eat? Looking at me like, what are you talking about? So I said, I don't know what a restaurant.
How do I digest food?
Yeah. Yeah, right. And I didn't know what a restaurant looked like. I said, everything looks like, I can't tell what anything is here. Like, sorry, because everything in Gifu, even the grocery store names were written in like katakana, in Japanese katakana. They weren't even written in English. So just Mini Stop was written in English, but I thought Mini Stop was a bike shop at first, like a bicycle store, because there were so many bicycles parked in front of it. And
I remember.
yeah, that doesn't happen in America. You don't see like a million bicycles in front of nobody bikes. Nobody airkicks. So I'm like, oh, Mini Stop's just like a sports store. Like I can't get any food there, right? So I would actually walk by one of the best sources of food in that area and just never. And I was too scared to go in because there's always Japanese people, groups of Japanese people waiting outside of the Mini Stop whenever I'd pass by. And I just was so afraid of any type of encounter with them. Like, oh, my Japanese is so terrible. I'm not going to be able to, I'm just going to make a scene. So I didn't go anywhere near them. And I would just think that was the bike shop, which is ridiculous. I think there's a couple people are probably laughing at this, knowing what Mini Stop is. It's a convenience store. You can get food and eat it. But, so I'll go ahead and so they took me to a restaurant, which is Kokoichiban, and said, here's a restaurant that you can eat that. Kokoichi was just mentioned by this, which is still to this day my favorite Japanese Korean restaurant. It's a chain store. A lot of people say it's just a chain store. I think it's delicious. But yeah, that is. I'll go ahead and pass the ball. Messi now.
Yeah, speaking of food, I think my first food in Japan was gyudon, and it still is my favorite food. And every time I go back to Japan, the first restaurant I go to is either Sukiya or Nakao to have the gyudon. That's the first food, and that's the last food I also eat before I leave Japan. Right, and also you can buy these frozen ones. I think from Yoshinoya. I think you can buy them frozen ones, so you can take it with you if you want. Because for 1 week or 2 weeks, you have this, depression that you left Japan. So you have to have some backup with you. So when you go back to your country, you still can smell Japan or taste Japan in your bedroom or in your kitchen. So that's speaking of food. Yeah, absolutely. When I got to Japan, that was the first thing you look for. Is either you go to your hotel, then you're definitely hungry because you had a long flight. So for me, my hotel was next to the station, Gifu Station.
Oh,
So I started walking around, and I went to Don Quixote. You guys know Don Quixote in the center of Gifu. I went there, and I was
Yes.
like,
It's unfortunately, it was by the time I left Japan, it was no longer there.
Yeah, they closed it down.
As soon as I got there, I realized so much of the cultural differences. I entered the Don Quixote, and there was a music playing, and I can still remember that Don Quixote. I can play the music here. I go, what?
They're like dun 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 dun.
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. And so I'm gonna add the music here, so people can listen to it. I can still remember that. I said, "Wow, this is so fun! Like, what is this place? Is it like a casino or something?" I enter Don Quixote, and it was just like crazy for me, like to see the big shop like that. It's just play the
Mhm.
music, and everybody's quiet, and they're minding their own businesses,
Mhm.
and it's very quiet. Only I could hear just the music. And you could find absolutely anything in Don Quixote, right?
Mhm.
So I went there and I got more hungry, and it was time to look for food. And as uh, JD said, because I was in the city center, I was next to JR station. Actually, the menu, at Sukiya menu was English. They had English subtitle or yeah, they had
English
this
text, yeah.
in English text below the Japanese one. So that was like okay, but honestly, I didn't even read it. I didn't even know what these foods are, right?
Mhm.
So I look at the pictures and I said, this one looks delicious. I picked the picture, not the food.
Mhm.
I told the guy this, and the guy just said, okay.
Yeah. What was it like? Kore onegaishimasu.
So kore onegaishimasu. But I mean, like, I was like, I didn't know Japanese at all. Like, I was like dummy over there, right?
I didn't either. So, and I
Is it-
studied it for 2 years.
I believe most of us go there. They know the basic conversation in Japanese, right? So the guy brought me the food, and I was like, "Oh, god damn! I'm already in love. What is this?" So when I was in the hotel for like a week, about a week, every night that was my food for 7 days. I didn't try anything else.
Pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. A pretty good start.
All I did, I added, I asked them to add the egg on the top, or just change the style, but it was that food because that was so delicious. I didn't want to change, so I didn't try any other food for the first week,
Mhm.
and that was my first time visiting Japan because I had to take the entrance exam for university.
Oh,
So
Mm.
I had to visit first to go take the exam, pass the exam, then come back again to Japan. That's how you can get your visa. So it's not just you go there and start like American visa, go as a tourist, then you convert it to student visa. No, you have to pass the entrance exam. You get acceptance from university, then you apply for COE, certificate of eligibility. Then with that, you can go get your visa, student visa, right?
oh, I had to do all that too, but I didn't have to pass an entrance exam. I just have to apply for the COE.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's a different program. Yeah. So what fascinates me a lot about Japan and Japanese culture is that when they tell you, I told them this is my flight. I have to go to Japan, and this is when I need the visa. Okay. And what fascinates me a lot about Japanese and Japanese culture is that the guy said 28th of, for example, May, your visa is ready. Come and get it. Okay. Or it's gonna be ready. And I told him, what if it's not ready? Because I wasn't used to that, you know? Usually they say, okay, come and get your visa these days, right? In this period of time. And the guy, I should say this way. The guy told me, come and get your visa, for example, this week, right? And I went there and it was ready. Like, boom. I told the guy, if it's 1 day delayed or 2 days delayed, I missed my flight, right? So something about me that I should mention it is like I think I should say that here because I think I was the most craziest person you can find in Japan. Yeah. Because I went to Japan with no Japanese knowledge. I had no scholarship, and I had no financial support from anybody or any organization or even parents or anybody. I just got 3,000 US dollar with me going to Japan.
Mhm.
Right. So if I have missed that flight, boo, I'm already done. I can't go to Japan. Right. So
Mhm.
I had to buy a new ticket. Then I'm out of money. So 3,000 US dollar. I went to Japan, and of course you have to pay for a lot of I had to pay tuition fee, by the way. I had to pay for Kaikon that JD mentioned, Kaikon, that dormitory that we stayed there. I had to
Yes.
pay like a deposit or something. We had to pay deposit, and we also have to pay monthly payment and some other stuff. So that was the fascinating part that when I wanted my visa, Japanese government or Japanese embassy was like in time, like gave it to me when I wanted it, and that was amazing for me. That was a culture shock, to be honest. You can't find that speed or precise, what they call it, Perci- precise. I think
Precision.
precision. Thank you. You cannot find that precision in most of the countries I've visited or I know. I've been to so many embassies. So, so another thing that I was just so I would say it's a culture shock is that when I got to Japan, I noticed in the train station everybody's standing in line. Like
Yeah.
the line was so perfect. If you stay behind them, you cannot see the people in front of you, or you only see the person who's in front of you. Nobody else. Like the line was perfect. How can you guys do that? But yeah, so I mean, everybody was standing in line. Nobody's pushing each other. Nobody pushing one another. And it was fascinating. It was like people when the train stops, the people like open up and they make this V shape. Okay. So they make the V shape. So people who coming out, they go through the V, and people who want to get in, they go from the side doors, right? From the both left and right side of the door. And I was like, wow, look at this. This is harmony. Nobody's hitting any other person in the train or when they're coming out and they get in. I was like, wow, is that even possible? I've never seen such a thing in my life. Okay. Up to that day. Well, that stuck to me, and I followed that rule. But I forgot about it when I came to Europe, and I started pushing people to go to the train. And yeah, I've seen a lot of videos about some other places that is train stations are just crazy. But yeah, that was something that I really appreciate about Japan, and I learned about how to follow the lines. For example, in the training stations, you guys already know that you have to stay to the right side. Or I think Osaka and Tokyo is different rules, but they have some unwritten rules. In Osaka, you have to go from left. In Tokyo, I think you have to go from right side of the stairs. So if you want to go up, you have to follow. I always, this is my personality. Whenever I go, wherever I go, I follow the locals and I see what they do and I follow that, right? So I was like, wait, what? Why everybody's going to the right side? Then I just observed, okay, and I just observed and I learned from them. Okay. So people who go up, okay, go right side. People who coming down come from the left side. Boom! I just learned that system, a rule, whatever it is, or what they call it, unwritten rules.
Yeah.
And that was also another fascinating thing when I got there. And I was keep just seeing things that, boy, it just blew my mind, right? Like for the first time in my life, I saw a vending machine, okay, and I was like, oh my god, look how many drinks is in this vending machine. Which one I should order? Of course, I couldn't read them, right? I didn't know what they are. I should say this honestly, and I order a rice tea for the first time. I think I couldn't finish it first time I drank that. To be honest, I'm honest. Honestly, it was not good because I think my tongue wasn't used to this type of taste or flavors. So it took me about 6 months to get used to Japanese teas. Okay, like Japanese drinks. It took me a lot of time, but the food, boom, instantly fell in love with the Japanese food. Right. So that's about that. And what else? I wanted to say something else. I guess these are the culture shocks that I faced, but I also want to know you guys also felt any unwritten rules. What unwritten rules you guys learned maybe the hard way, or have you felt any?
I'll say mine really quick. I did totally feel that there were unwritten rules instantly, and I didn't know what any of them were, so I was scared. All right, pass it. I'll pass it. I'll get more into detail later. But
I mean, like, I'll just bring up this one bit where a lot of the customs, day-to-day ongoings, were explained to me by JD prior to me coming to Japan. I remember, I believe it was like Christmas of 2014. JD was visiting home, we hung out for a bit, and he was giving me all the rundown on what Japan is like, what the people are like, how everyone, things go about a certain way. Everyone is very respectful to each other. Everybody keeps to themselves. Um, it's very safe over there. Nobody bothers anyone there. Nobody wants to be a burden amongst the people within their community and social circles. So when I came to Japan, I was pretty much came in with the mindset of, okay, this is apparently what Japan is like. So it wasn't really any surprise to me at all because everything that JD had said was very true. Going there, even on the train ride to Gifu City, everyone was very quiet. Everyone kept to themselves. Everyone was very polite and respectful to each other. The people who are there to serve the customers, whether it's like the customers of a train, of a restaurant, of a retail shop, everyone puts on a big smile, and everyone is very polite and super helpful and supportive to everyone else. The moment you step inside a building, irashaimase, everyone is just like big welcome to anyone who enters the shop. But the one thing that did caught me by surprise is how clean everything and every place was. Where I was shocked when like I went to a konbini, I got a snack, I was eating my snack, and I was like, okay, where do I put my trash? And I looked around for a public trash can. There was no public trash can. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this piece of trash in my hand? Am I supposed to hold it the entire time? And yeah, that's pretty much what it was because there were no public trash cans. That's the thing that took me by surprise because in America, you can find trash cans everywhere. But in a way that's in a strange way, it promotes littering because it says that it's okay to just carry trash with you everywhere because you can always dump it anywhere. Whereas in Japan, there are no trash cans, public trash cans available. There's lots of vending machines everywhere, but no trash cans. And so it's pretty much your responsibility to make sure you don't litter and you don't just leave it anywhere. So pretty much anytime I walked around with trash, I pretty much have to keep in mind for the next konbini that I come across to dump that trash. um yeah, it definitely really caught me by surprise and it really showed that there's this like very strong dedication towards preserving the cleanliness and the peacefulness of these local communities, and that they take it so seriously that it is very expected of you to fall in line with this sort of thing. And trash being it's a very big problem in the US. When I eventually started visiting friends and family in America, I just look around, I'm like, wow, this could not be so different in terms of how they handle trash and hygiene and cleanliness here. Another thing that really also caught me by surprise is just how compact everything is, where like the roads are narrower, the sidewalks are practically non-existent. All the buildings are cover a very small amount of land. Backyards and front yards don't really exist, at least like they do in American suburban homes. Everything is built vertically as opposed to horizontally. The buildings are tall but not wide. Alleyways are also super narrow. You'd really have to go to like a big city like Nagoya to find some like wider alleyways that would have businesses in between. So just realizing how compact everything was also something to get used to. In that, yeah, a lot of Japanese people, they're very uh, um, conservative with space, with having like taking up as little space as possible, and then just sharing that little amount of space with so many other people. That was another thing that also took me by surprise. As again, going back and visiting home, it makes me realize just how much open space we have in the U.S. by comparison. So it was a lot of the smaller details that that quickly caught my attention and just showed really like these little things kind of showed me just like what goes into the sort of day-to-day ongoings of Japan, and just sort of like giving me a more subtler look at the Japanese mentality of like what is considered the norm over there.
Yeah. Speaking of trash, uh, uh, Gifu has one of the biggest hanabi or fireworks in Japan during the summer. And it was
Yes.
my first time attending there, and it was like I would say more than thousands. I don't know, 2,000 people, a lot of people from
Oh yeah, yeah.
from
People from all over
from
the
the
like
area. I would say
yeah, the area,
like,
yeah.
yeah, would come there and sit there, and it was like, oh my god, so many people. Okay,
Mhm.
so many people there, and I thought,
More people
okay,
than any other event in Gifu
yes,
City.
yes, and they have these food trucks. They have, they bring their own drinks and they drink
Food
there.
stands.
Yeah, and most people walk there because it's more fun to walk during summer with yukata and Japanese traditional clothes.
Mhm.
And what was fascinating about, I was sitting next to some Japanese people, and I mean that's the only spot I could find, and I was alone. It was my first time,
Mm.
and I would say I had no friends there, uh, and I was alone sitting there. And when the event was finished, actually I was waiting there, stay there, and I took some pictures. I wanted to take picture of the area. Uh, you talk about trash. The place that people were sitting, 2,000 people. When people left, it was even cleaner than when they got there. Yeah, I think they even clean and some theirs from before they left. So that much they care about cleanness and taking care of the environment, the culture, the places, the spaces, or whatever they go is a public space also, right? But it
Mhm.
doesn't. And this is funny because Japanese really care about public. Okay, I know some friends of mine, Japanese friend, his house is not as clean as outside. So yeah, but what I'm saying is that they really care about trash and cleanness in the country, and it's so beautiful. To be honest,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I tell you this, I can't sleep in a Japanese public toilet. Okay, I can sleep. I wouldn't do that, but I'm just, it's so clean that you can even lay down and sleep there. Okay, I don't think any other countries you can do such a thing in a public toilet. Okay, and that's another thing. I wanted to say something else about um, convenience and convenience stores also. Very interesting because for me, when you come to Europe and you go to service areas or convenience store, the variety of foods and drinks are just, is horrible. You can find, a lot of different type of drinks or a lot of different type of food. You either see sandwiches or
Mhm.
sausages or hot dogs or whatever, or
Yeah.
burgers, and you can see Pepsi, Cola, and some energy drinks. That's it.
Oh yeah.
So when it comes to Japanese konbini, I think that's another word that you have to go and discover. I tried when I was in Japan to try every day to to drink a different drink from konbini, try a
Mhm.
different type of food in konbini. Like what was it? We had this nikoman. What do you call it? Pizzaman.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember the pizza
Popular.
man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pizza man.
Yeah, pizzaman.
I
I
love
start
those.
yeah, I start loving that as well. And we had this American. Tell me, they put this sausage on the stick.
Oh, American dog.
It's a corn
American
dog,
dog.
though, but
Yes.
they call it an
Yeah, 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 yeah. We call it the corn dog, but
Yeah.
so American. They got to call it the American dog.
yeah.
So I mean, there are a lot of different manners when I got to Japan, and I learned by observing people, by watching them. And one thing that I really liked about Japan compared to Europe and the West is the senpai and kohai system. Many people would say, "Oh no, we are all equal. There shouldn't be a hierarchy or something." But I'm a little bit against that. I like that, level of respect that somebody knows a little bit more than you, experience a little bit more than you. You should respect that person because he's helping you, he's giving you advice. I like that level of respect and hierarchy, to be honest. We don't feel that in Europe, and I feel like a little bit we are too friendly to when at the for workplaces and conferences or places I go. I feel like we are too close. I mean, I don't know. It's me. I feel like I need the authorities sometimes guide me through something. Okay, I don't want to be friend with my colleagues. I want to be colleague with my colleagues. In that level of respect and work ethic. For me, I liked senpai and kohai system. I don't know in English
Mhm.
is junior, senior,
Junior and
junior,
senior. Yeah.
junior, and senior.
It's
I
the
like that.
closest approximation to
Yes.
those terms.
Mm, yeah. What happens in Japan for me also, this is very interesting. I went to this is very interesting event actually, and I never experienced that. I heard a lot about it that Japanese always return the lost items, or they don't touch something that is fallen on the floor or left somewhere. They don't touch it
Mm.
until the person comes and get it. But I never experienced it myself. So I went to this photo booth, the photo booth that you can take picture. And I had an iPad with me and I forgot it in the photo booth. Okay. And I was in Tokyo.
Mhm.
I walked like 1 hour to another place and I was like, wait, where is my iPad? Right. And I
Mhm.
said, dude, I forgot it in the photo booth. And I went back and guess what? The iPad was exactly where I left it. They didn't even open it. They didn't even touch it. And I was like, damn, this is so good. I love it. And I learned that by experience again. Whenever I see some people drop something or left something in the classrooms or restaurant, I never touch it because I know they're gonna come back and get it, or somebody else in the restaurant is responsible to take care of the lost items, right?
Mhm.
I really like that culture. I hope the rest of the world learn from Japan, but I don't think so. Sorry. I don't think, and it's not going to happen anytime soon. It's even getting worse in Europe, to be honest.
Mm.
Yeah. So I hope people will learn some of this Japanese manner around the world and follow it. I know, speaking of Kaikon again, when we talk about Kaikon, the dormitory had certain rules, written rules. They had it in the Kaikon and says, okay, these things you shouldn't do. Okay. You don't make noise in the Kaikon. You don't bring outsider to the Kaikon. You, for example, don't party in the kitchen of the Kaikon. Or there were levels. First two levels, I believe, was boys or male. The third or fourth was, for example, females, right? And the
Yeah.
rule was girls can come to the male floor, but we cannot go to the female floors, right? But this is very strange because these rules are written in English. Okay. I had some Australians, I just say the nationalities because it's English. They couldn't say, I was English, I didn't know. Okay. It's written in English and Japanese both. And they could also speak both languages, right? So one night they brought boys to the third floor, which was girls' floor, and they made a lot of noises. People noticed, somebody reported them, right? So I said, guys, girls, guys, is written there already. Okay, can we just respect the culture? You came here to learn about Japanese language and culture, and you're already breaking the rules. And it's an easy rule. It's written for everybody to follow, right? They made a lot of noise, so we disrespected the kitchen culture, which we had to clean it up every time we use it. So many issues we had to live in Kaikon as foreigners, which I did brings me to the same topic we had. I think the first episode about Japanese are not racist, but they are sometimes they had it enough, right? They get tired of your behavior. They already told you don't do that, and you misbehaving and not respecting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, sorry to interrupt you. It
no,
just
no,
kind
it's
of
all right.
reminds me of like what happened with, I think it was 2018. There was the big Halloween Shibuya incident where there was like a big party going around. I'm not sure if there were foreigners involved, but there was definitely a big party out in public in the middle of Shibuya during Halloween. And afterwards, there was just so much trash everywhere, so much public property that was destroyed, a lot of cars that were messed with or flipped over or whatever, and really painted an ugly picture of Halloween for all of Japan. All of Japan now, like from that point on, I'm not sure if it's still the case, but in the years that followed, there like people just saw like the amount of trash left everywhere, the amount of vandalism that went on, the amount of like just drunken stupidity going on, that it painted a really bad picture of what of what Halloween is. And in the ensuing months and years, especially, people just associated Halloween with just like delinquent behavior.
Yeah.
So it's like they take the rules seriously, and when the rules are blatantly like just disregarded, then yeah, it's seen as a very serious offense that paints a really bad picture of yourself and your peers towards the eyes of the locals.
It really stands out.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. One thing that people don't know, maybe they know about Japan, that is it seems very nice when you come as you already mentioned that, I think, Andres, when you come as a tourist, or sorry, it's either JD said it or you said, Andres, when you come as tourists to Japan, you usually go there for fun. You experience the fun things. You go the best places. You go good restaurants. You go tourist friendly areas, right? So one thing that I remember, we were doing some research in Takayama and Hida. If you guys don't know, I will put an image or a Google map to show where it is. It's part of the Gifu prefecture. We were there with actually JD for research for a company. And something strange happened. We went to information center to ask some questions, and I felt like the lady at the counter was not very happy answering my questions or helping us. And I was like, oh, wait, what happened? This is very strange. I never experienced such a thing in Japan. It's first time. So I started asking around. I asked some people that why the behavior in Takayama is completely different with Gifu or even Nagoya or other cities, right? Nagoya. So anyway, so then I discovered, because we were doing research anyway, I discovered that it's a small city, Takayama. It's a very historical place. It's a kind of, I don't know if it's part of the
Like a historical
World Heritage.
Yeah, World Heritage. Yeah,
I don't know if it's a World Heritage. I can look it up, but it's one of the world.
Probably is.
Yeah, like it's kind of close to Shirakawa-go, which is a World Heritage.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So then I asked around, and I realized they are pissed. They are tired of foreigners coming there and ruining things, throwing the garbage. We talk about trash here, throwing garbage. This is one of the historical places people visit. It's a very old city that it has. They preserve their culture and the buildings and everything, right? So I think they were so pissed and tired of foreigners that they see everybody, even the good foreigners, I would say, people who are actually living there and contributing to society as a tourist, and they say, is one of them again, right? So they treated us a little bit strange and not very good, and that was my first experience being treated like that. And when I asked around, and I realized, yeah, that's the problem. Many foreigners actually ruin Takayama City. Locals are not very happy with that. And on the other hand, when we went to Hida, we realized there is nobody in Hida city, and it was very sad. And I asked local people, where are the people in this city, right? They say, oh, all the young people go to big cities to look for jobs and study at universities, and only old people live in Hida. So and I felt like, oh, this is kind of sad. So I decided next time I go to Japan, I'm gonna go visit Hida again, just to contribute to the society and the culture they are preserving there. I mean, and I recommend Hida, one of the destinations people should actually visit. there are more elderly people living there, and it's a beautiful city as well. Yeah, so that was kind of my experience. The only experience I think I had that they treated me not very nice, Japanese people, and that was because of other foreigners actually misbehaved in that area and disrespected locals a lot.
Yeah, that tends to stand out more. I remember when I was there with you. We were trying to get into our hotel, and he was like he was treating all the foreigners like pretty badly in comparison to how they treat you, like say Gifu.
Yeah.
And when we showed him that we were actually residents of Japan, then his demeanor totally changed, and he started acting really nice. And oh, you guys are living here, and started to use like honorific Japanese. And all of a sudden everything changed because we weren't tourists. And yeah, we get that in Tokyo as well, right? Like I was saying earlier, that you can get denied, the frequency of getting denied to live
Yeah.
somewhere. You'd think it would be higher in Gifu since there's the way less foreigners there, but I don't know. There's way more. There tends to be way more support there. I never ran into people who were like, "Oh, I can't find an apartment because I've been denied." Someone somewhere, usually Japanese people, would house them somehow. And in Tokyo, it's like a lot colder because they have to deal with. Yeah, I mean, obviously, probably they're never going to do an empirical study regarding this, but just you can just going, you can see, like if you've lived there long enough, you can see that it's just because of it's because of other foreigners who are misbehaving.
Yeah. So I think uh, maybe I just want to say some of the social ethics that people really need to learn before going to Japan. I've seen a lot of foreigners in the restaurants making a lot of noises, and this is something that Japanese don't like. But if you go to izakaya, izakaya is type of bar restaurant. You can go as crazy as possible. And I notice in izakaya, Japanese are very loud as well. So I recommend if you are a loud person and you want looking for a restaurant, go to izakaya, and you can shout there because everybody's shouting there. And it's very interesting because I noticed in Gifu people are now shouting that much because I think the izakaya culture or nightlife kind of exists, but not as much as in
Yeah, it's
Tokyo.
very low energy.
Very low energy. And I noticed people in Gifu are down shouting when they're laughing. Or they're talking and they're laughing. They are not like very loud. But in Tokyo, I experienced that people are so loud. And I think it's because of the population density is too high in Tokyo compared to Gifu, which is not often you see a lot of people gathering one place. So I think, and also there are a lot of nightlife things happening in Tokyo, and so people are always active and they have more energy. And when there are like 100 to 100 people talking at the same time, you have no choice to laugh loud or talk loud. So I think they are more loud compared to people who live in Gifu. That's my understanding when uh, I've been in two places, so I can say actually that's maybe one of the reasons. I don't know, maybe there are other reasons, cultural differences, but that's what I felt. So if you're a loud person, please go to izakaya. That's my recommendation. I just want to say there are very very easy unwritten rules that you can just look it up on Google or use ChatGPT AI tools to just learn about them. It's not so difficult to follow these rules, to be honest. Like, and that's why we or you guys love Japan because of these differences that we love Japan because we can experience something that probably we cannot experience everywhere else, right? Sorry.
Oh, very true. Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely a very unique experience, whether you're visiting there, whether you're living there, working there. It's certainly an experience unlike anything I have ever have seen or witnessed personally.
Mm. Yeah, JD, you wanted to say something. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, and I probably should have mentioned it a long time ago. Yeah, just to add to the rules, the unspoken rules is like you can't hear the volume of your voice cannot go past a certain level. For the most part, even if you're outside.
Oh yeah,
So,
I remember, JD, I remember you and I would walk from work a lot of the times. And like as we're walking, you would sometimes have to remind me to keep my voice down, especially when there are other people walking in front of us or behind us that could potentially be scared by the volume of my voice, even if I was like being positive and not so angry. Like I wasn't necessarily shouting, but just the volume itself is enough to sort of like make people uncomfortable, especially in the middle of the night.
Right. You're not shouting, but at all. The volume of the background, which is just, the normal ambient noise and just other people's voices are so low at such a low volume that it makes it
Yeah.
seem like just trying to be clear and be heard ends up being like yelling to them.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I remember. What was another thing I remember there was another thing that I also had to keep in mind, but I totally forgot just now.
I think we might have to do a part 2 for. I don't know if we need a part 2 for this episode or not, since it's already.
Yeah, I think we can have the part 2 for this maybe next weekend, because I think you guys have to leave, right?
Well, I do. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. But thank you again, guys.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this evening. Let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are on today's discussion. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, as we will be back next time to discuss our further first impressions on Japan. And be sure to tune in next time for when we discuss our further thoughts on our initial impressions of Japan and all of its many intricacies. So until next time, everybody, take care.